The University of Arkansas Fort Smith is announcing a new program that could help quite a few college students save some money. We'll tell you about it coming up.
And a weak cold front passes through today. Overall, not a lot of changes for the forecast, but a few. We'll talk about them coming up.
And a possible breakthrough in the war in Ukraine. The latest on negotiation surrounding a possible limited ceasefire.
A live look outside in Fayetteville. Good morning to you there. 5 News This Morning starts now.
Covering news where you live. This is 5 News This Morning.
Well, hey, good morning. Thanks so much for waking up with us here on 5 News This Morning. Now, have you got your Hogs gear yet? Are you waiting on getting it, the Sweet 16 gear?
Joe, I was born ready with hog gear. Now, I don't have my Sweet 16 shirt, but I do have a section in my closet that is dedicated to Razorback outfits.
There we go. Steven, it looks like the Sweet 16 shirts may come in today around the Northwest Arkansas area, so we can get them then.
Yeah, I imagine they will be gone pretty
You need to be there when they open.
So if you don't know what time those stores open, you might want to check now, because as soon as they open, they're going to be gone. All right, let's get a look at today's forecast. Really not too bad for today. Another mild day today. Nice day to get outside. Starting off into the 40s and 50s across Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. Much improvement from yesterday, where we were starting off into the 30s and 40s, getting a little bit warmer for us for today. Overall, pretty mild, not only for today, but for tomorrow as well, even with the cold front that it's passing through for this afternoon. Northwest Arkansas looks like this for today. Again, starting off into the 50s, daytime highs pretty similar, right around those mid 70s for today. By the time we get into the afternoon, that's where we start to build in a little bit extra cloud coverage along with that next cold front that's moving through across the River Valley. I think daytime highs back up into the upper 70s and low 80s. Hard to complain about that. Just a little bit extra cloud coverage by the time we get to the afternoon due to that cold front rolling through. It's a weak front, so not doing much for the forecast, but it is going to bring some very low rain chances south of I-40 for tomorrow morning. Outside of that, more rain chances coming for the end of the week and into this weekend. Unfortunately, the weekend, that's where we could have some storm chances back into the forecast, and we'll be having updates on that as we get a little bit closer. Until then, let's get a check of traffic out there this morning. Here's a live look out across the Bella Vista interchange out there this morning. Starting to see that sunrise come up. Good news is no accidents, no slowdowns out across Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley. Smooth driving this morning. Plenty of kiddos have the week off of school this week, so if you're heading to work, not a bad commute.
All right, thanks so much for that, Stephen. Well, this morning, the University of Arkansas Fort Smith is rolling out a new program aimed at making college more affordable.
5 News reporter Morgan Wrigley is live there now to tell us who qualifies and how it works. Good morning, Morgan.
Good morning, Tiffany and Joe. Well, with this program, students here at UAFS will not have to pay out of pocket if they meet the requirements for their tuition and mandatory fees. Now, the tuition and mandatory fee guarantee covers costs for students who are already receiving specific state and federal aid. With this program, students who qualify for both the Arkansas Challenge Scholarship and a federal Pell Grant will have their remaining tuition and mandatory fees paid for by UAFS. The university says about 60% of its students currently receive Pell Grants, and many are first-generation college students, so they're hoping this opportunity will help open doors for even more students.
The fact that they're already receiving 2 different, the federal grants and the scholarship, that's a big help. But covering the remainder, I think, is going to be something that will remove a lot of heartburn from parents who maybe haven't sent their kids to college before.
The university says that there's no additional application for this program. If students want to apply for it, all you have to worry about is the 2 deadlines. One is June 30th. That's the deadline to apply for the Arkansas Challenge Scholarship. And the second one is August 1st, and that's the deadline to be admitted to UAFS. Live in Fort Smith, covering news where you live, Morgan Wrigley, 5 News.
All right, thanks so much for that, Morgan. Some good information there. Continuing coverage this morning in Rogers, a suspect at the center of a deadly shooting investigation will now be tried as an adult. Alejandro Zenon-Reyes was arrested back in January in Mexico. He was sent back to the U.S. Authorities said it was apparent he had fled the state of Arkansas to avoid apprehension in connection with the case. The deadly shooting happened back in 2022. Rogers police say they responded to a shooting on East Asher, where 17-year-old Alexis Wynn was found dead. In Benton County, Zenon-Reyes faces charges of manslaughter, theft, tampering with evidence, and minor in possession of a handgun, which he has pleaded not guilty to and did so back in February. Well, if you're driving in Fort Smith, you'll see 2 new right turn signs there on Rogers Avenue and 66th Street.
Officials say it's another effort to make transportation in the city safer. Fort Smith PD says the signs were installed at the busy junction last week. Effective immediately, police are now enforcing compliance with the new traffic directive. The police chief says that data showed left turns at this location significantly increased crash risks. The department says last year there were 11 crashes at this location alone.
We just wanted the streets department, we got with them, and they were very helpful in getting that signage up to try and make that more obvious to motorists that don't try that.
Well, additional city safety measures include the installation of always stops, rectangular rapid flashing beacons for pedestrian safety, and some other intersection enhancements. Police say they are also still enforcing their no tolerance policy on jaywalking.
Well, President Trump's 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum are now in effect. A report from U.S. Steel showed the industry generates an economic impact of more than $380 million in Arkansas. One expert says the tariffs could positively impact steel producers, including those in the natural state, but they will also affect exporters such as Canada.
It also means that there are going to be higher costs to consumers, difficulties with manufacturers who use inputs of steel and aluminum into their production process.
The impact for those at home will all come down to the cost, affecting everyday items such as cars, home appliances, and more. Well, this morning, lawmakers from both parties are calling for an investigation.
A report claims that top Trump administration officials mistakenly shared plans for an imminent attack and targets in Yemen on the encrypted messaging app Signal with a journalist. Monday, The Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg published an article claiming he was accidentally added to that 18-person group chat by an account sharing the name of National Security Advisor Mike Waltz. Now, the chat appeared to also include Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. The National Security Council later said in a message thread it included in Goldberg's article it appears to be authentic.
Found it completely improbable that the top national security leadership of the United States would be discussing on a commercial messaging app the possible imminent attack on another country.
This is the guy that peddles in garbage. Nobody was texting war plans.
Well, President Trump was asked about the report shortly after it was published. He said he didn't know about it. Well, this morning, a possible breakthrough in the war in Ukraine.
The United States issued a joint statement with Russia announcing a limited ceasefire in the Black Sea. But as Derek Waller reports, a full ceasefire still appears far off.
Inside this Ritz-Carlton hotel in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, negotiators from Ukraine and Russia holding marathon talks on separate floors with U.S. officials trying to hammer out a peace deal. A joint statement from the United States and Russia could come down at any minute, calling for a limited ceasefire in the Black Sea in an effort to protect shipping lanes.
More closer to peace than we ever have been.
U.S. National Security Advisor Mike Waltz on Face the Nation Sunday, sounding optimistic that the maritime deal could lead to further talks.
Then we'll talk the line of control, which is the actual front lines, and that gets into the details of verification mechanisms, peacekeeping, freezing the lines where they are.
But so far, the peace talks are just that. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said nearly 90 people were injured in a Russian strike on Monday, including 17 children. On Sunday, Zelensky paid respects to fallen troops in this video provided by Ukraine's government. And in Saudi Arabia, there's still been no direct contact between the two countries. Charles Kupchan is a senior fellow with the Council on Foreign Relations.
Putin is still putting out demands. Ukrainian neutrality, the end of Western arms shipments to Ukraine, recognition of Eastern Ukraine as belonging to Russia. These are poison pills.
a lasting peace still far off. Derek Waller, CBS News.
We just learned a Kremlin spokesperson says both Russia and the U.S. are currently analyzing the outcome of talks in Saudi Arabia yesterday, but now says the content of what was discussed will not be published.